Curtly Ambrose has got the wicket. Curtly Ambrose strikes again. Wicket number 5. The Queen's Park Oval is absolutely jumping.
Edged again, Lara's there again, and Curtly Ambrose celebrates his 400th Test wicket.
What a bowler this man is.
Steve Waugh described him as the most complete bowler he'd ever faced, and a man that tormented that great Australian side more than any other. 405 Test match wickets, 225 ODI wickets. It is a pleasure this morning to speak to Sir Curtly Ambrose. We're here at the Oval in the indoor school. The zone is set up ready to go. Michael Afton and Nasser Hussain are ready, willing, perhaps not quite so able anymore, to face Curtly in the net. So very good morning to you, Sir Curtly. How are you?
Good morning to you. Thank you very much. I'm fine, thank you.
Steve Waugh wrote the foreword to your book. Nice words. Does that make you feel very proud when you hear a cricketer of his stature say such nice things about you?
Extremely proud. When I was doing the book, I immediately thought about Richie Benaud, the late great Australian, to do my foreword. And then I thought having Steve Waugh do the foreword as well would add a nice touch to it. So I asked him, and he readily agreed to do it. And he wrote some nice words.
We'll come on to the battles you had with Steve Waugh in due course. But was it always cricket that you loved?
No. I always wanted to be a basketball player or a football player. Cricket was maybe third on the list, but constant pressure from my mother, who is a cricket fanatic, and of course villagers from Sweets, where I'm from, and everything just took off.
Your mother was massively influential in your life and your career, was she not?
Yeah, she was. My older brother used to play for Sweets back home in Antigua. He was a wicketkeeper batsman. Many believe he would have made it to the top level before he migrated to the States to join my father. And naturally, I was next in line. And my mother, kept pestering me about being a cricketer. And I tried to be an obedient child. So I decided to give it a try. And in 1984, I started playing for Sweets. And a year later, in 85, I was selected for Antigua national team. And in 86, I was selected for the Leeward Islands team. I wasn't originally in the Leeward Islands squad, but a few of the fast bowlers got injured. And because of my exploit playing for Antigua the year before, I was drafted in for the last game. And then 2 years later, in 1988, I became an international cricketer. So from a guy who never wanted to play cricket, within 4 years, I suddenly found myself on a big stage.
I think it was Desmond Haynes that said you had a remarkable ability to switch on and off from cricket. Do you think that stems from the fact that you didn't necessarily love it straight out of the box?
Well, yes. I'm a very proud person. And anything I do, I want to be the best. So once I turn up to the cricket games, I switch on to cricket because I know I have a job to do. At the end of the day's play, I want nothing to do with cricket. I just switch off.
Walk away.
And so that's why Desmond Haynes, he said he never met someone like that who could switch. Maybe that's why I had some success. I never worried about it too much.
Yeah. When did you realise, though, that you were good?
Well, it took me 2 years of international cricket. Because even...
Really?
Yes. Because when I was selected in 1988 for the West Indies team, prior to my first one-day international in Jamaica, the night before we left for Jamaica, I was playing basketball. And a lot of my villagers were like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy? You're traveling tomorrow?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm okay." So I was still into this basketball thing. And so for 2 years, I played, had success, and then go home, basketball.
Switch off.
Played, basketball. And then after, in 1990, when I wasn't selected for the first test match against England, I thought, maybe I need to prove these people wrong, that I can play this cricket for many years successfully. So that's when I really started to take it more seriously. Because I figured I was supposed to be selected, in my opinion, but I wasn't. And I wanted to prove everyone wrong.
Were you at your best when you were challenged like that and people doubted you?
I'm always at my best when I'm challenged. I thrive in competition.
Yeah.
And the bigger the competition, the better I usually bowl, especially when I'm riled up. So it's not a wise idea to rattle me.
What was it like walking into that West Indies dressing room for the first time in Guyana?
Well, it was kind of easy because I had Viv Richards was the captain then. You had Richie Richardson and you had Winston Benjamin and the all Antigans. So I've played with them for the Leeward Islands prior to making the West Indies team. So I had some guys around who I could hang with and talk to until I get to know the other guys. So the transition for me was kind of easy.
You play with Malcolm Marshall. Did you get on straight away?
No, we didn't. It took me like maybe 2 years to gain his respect, because I remember when I made my first tour to England in 1988, I was bowling pretty well, and I got a man of the match in one game. And I remember the reporter asking Marshall about Ambrose. I was basically an unknown. So we were saying Ambrose looked to be a good product, one for the future. And I remember him saying to the reporter, you know, Ambrose is an upcoming fast bowler, but Ian Bishop is going to be the holy terror of West Indies cricket. He wasn't wrong, but I thought Bishop hasn't played a game yet. And I had a few test matches under my belt, and he never gave me any credit. So I thought, you know what, I got to impress this man.
But in the end, he helped you a lot, did he not, about thinking about the game?
Yes, in the end, once I gained his respect, then we talk a lot more. And let me tell you, to me, he was the greatest we produced in the West Indies. Not only his skills, but I think his cricketing knowledge is his asset. I mean, I used to be at mid-off, and he will tell me what he's going to do. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and this is what's going to happen. And more often than not, I remember one game in 1991 against England at Edgbaston. He was bowling to Graham Gooch, and the ball was doing a lot, and Gooch, he kept missing. And I was at mid-off enjoying that nice scenery. And he said to me, well, he asked me, how do you think I'm going to get him out? And naturally I say, you're going to hit the edge, because the ball is, he said, can't get him out like that. The ball is doing too much. And my first impression was, Marco got to be crazy. Because for me, I'm not going to leave there, I'm going to stay there all day. Yeah. He said, I can't get him out, I'm going to bowl him. And I was like, nah, to myself, no, you're crazy. Another out swinger, and then a big in swinger, and Goose was driving, and there I said to myself, you know what, leave this man alone. He understands bowling, he knows cricket. But he was a phenomenal brain.
Going to bring these two in now, if I may. What was it like being an opening batsman against this fella?
Well, I'd say the battle at the highest level in Test cricket between an opening batsman and an opening bowler is a very simple one, that the best bowlers put the ball on your off stump, on the top of your off stump, more often than not. And him and Glenn McGrath did it more often than any other bowlers that I played against. Now, the difficulty for me, you'll see a lot of horrendous dismissals here. The problem was, Curtly's 6'7". What are you, 6'7"?
6'7", 6'8".
Yeah, and Glenn McGrath similar, and both quick. And I found it very difficult to get forward to both of them. So the hammering away at your off stump, you can't, on that horrible length, you can't quite get forward. And obviously the best opening batsmen deal with that threat on the top of their off stump better than everybody else. You know, I had times when I got out there.
You kept it very simple, though, didn't you? I mean, say your tactics to Michael Atton would have just been bang away, a trench outside off stump.
Yeah, I always kept it very simple. I rely heavily on my accuracy. That has been my strong suit. You know, hitting that area consistently, all day, every day. And, of course, with my height, extra bit of bounce. So I was never a guy who swings the ball. I rely heavily on the pitch to seam it about and hit that area. So, for me, it's always difficult for any opening batsman. I mean, you're at your freshest, you know, the ball is new, you know, you're psyched up to play. So I always believe that batsmen are more vulnerable at the start of the innings. And if I chip out a couple out, a few wickets early, then I'm in business.
You don't get any sighters. So you know if you make a mistake, you're in trouble. If you've got a slight technical glitch, it's going to be exposed. So absolutely no sighters. He's at you straight away. And his average is incredible. He averages 20.95 or something. What that really means is when he's not getting wickets, he ain't going for any runs. You know, Anderson's average is 29 or whatever. You occasionally get a nice drive. But the tall guys, like McGrath and Ambrose, you're not getting any runs. So even when they're not getting wickets, the scoreboard's not running away from them. Incredible average.
What was the challenge? Middle order?
Well, you're usually in second ball, to be honest. So we went and stood a square leg when Athers was opening the batting. But he talks about the technical challenge. One thing we haven't mentioned is the theatre and the hostility of facing someone like him. I don't know who this bloke here is standing next to me. He's got a smile on his face. He talks great about the game of cricket. The Curtly Ambrose I knew was a bloke who didn't smile. If you nipped in ahead of him to get your flying fish in the lunch queue, he used to stare you out. In the middle, he used to stare you out. I think in a decade, he didn't say one word to us in the middle. He used to, all the arms waving around, the sense
Crowd.
of theatre, the crowd going berserk, the stares he used to give you. He used to look at you as if you cannot bat against me. And that's probably true, actually, with most of us. But once you went out to face Curtly, and you were forgetting about another bloke at the other end called Courtney as well, you knew you were almost in a cauldron. And just remember the crowds back then in the Caribbean. When wickets were falling, it was like an unstoppable force. So at 46 all out in Trinidad, I walked round the ground to get a roti. And by the time I got to the roti hut, we were 20 for 5, and the place was absolutely exploding because of this man.
That context is very important, you know, because now the West Indies are not so strong. There's an expectation that England will beat the West Indies. When you travel to watch a test match in the Caribbean, there's more often than not more English supporters than Caribbean supporters. But back then, when we started, we were brought up on tales of terror. You know, the 1986 team that went to the Caribbean and got whitewashed. And as Nasser said, fantastic local crowds crammed into the border or the wrecked ground. So when we arrived on the test scene, and my first test against the West Indies was 1990, Marshall, Ambrose, Patterson, Walsh. You know, we had those tales of terror kind of instilled in our heads.
Tales of terror, like it. Down you go.
Talking to terror.
Down you go. Get ready. Basically, how did you grip the ball?
Well, what I do before I started bowling, I come out and I'll mark my run up. Then I'll have a nice run through all the way down to that area I'm looking to bowl. That's part of my routine. And look at that particular area, and then I go back. The first thing I always wanted to do is to make sure that I get the first few out in the area. So I'm never thinking about getting the wicket or trying to seam the ball. I want to get a couple of deliveries out so I could feel comfortable. And after that, I started working on seam movements and looking to get wickets. So usually when I grip the ball for first up, I always have a split seam. Because I want to make sure the first couple, starting is always the hardest. So I make sure I have a split the seam so I could bring the ball down on the seam, first and foremost. And after that, I started working on the leg cutters, the nip backers and all that stuff. So that's my routine.
Sorry, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go on.
What was all that bit
hang on,
about?
we got some
What was the
examples
arm
of it.
waving
Where
about?
is
Was that just
Where is
natural?
It was just natural. It's not something that I've rehearsed.
But is that because your wrist was very relaxed?
Yeah, I'm very relaxed. That sometimes the ball even slips from my grasp sometimes because I don't really grip it as tight as most people. It's always very relaxed. So sometimes when I do that, it flips out. But I'm always relaxed. I believe that you got to be relaxed when you're bowling. As opposed to be tense. So everything for me is just about the natural relaxation and, well, my aggression is another thing.
We'll come on to that in just a minute. Let's have some aggression now. Are you ready, Michael?
Yeah, we'll give it a go.
So how long was your run-up, by the way? Was a certain amount of paces? Did it change? Because famously you bowled all those no balls, didn't you?
Yes, when I started first, I used to like about 30 yards, just inside a 30-yard circle. And then when I came to county cricket for Northants in 1989, I quickly realized 4 or 5 months of cricket every day, that could be a bit of a burnout. So I cut my run down just to suit county cricket to about 20 yards. And I realized have the same effect. I could bowl just as quickly. So I've never left. So it's about 20 yards. Yeah.
Well, you don't need to go 20 yards here.
Should I warm up first?
Well, you can warm up or
But the funny thing about it, if I warm up, I may not be able to bowl.
Are you ready, Michael? The challenge is, does this bring back memories?
Bad ones.
Bad ones. I'll bowl a couple at Michael, then we'll get Nasser in the firing line. Oh, Athers is off strike, which means you can't sit on your bat hand like the non-striker's end.
He's lasted longer than he normally did.
I've no thigh pad on.
You're back.
Oh, it's Carl Hooper, no thigh pad. At any point were you thinking of driving him?
Maybe now, but not then. That was the issue, really. I felt I could never get forward to him and McGrath. So I'm always kind of pinned to the crease. And naturally, I think most batsmen like to think that they can get forward to a bowler. It's that horrible length with the bounce, and you'll see a lot of my dismissals where I'm kind of on the crease, nicking off.
So you'd look at an area down here.
Yes. I'll mark my run up, then I'll have a nice run through, get the legs going.
Yeah.
I remember I occasionally used to see you in the morning. You'd mark out. How many footsteps would your length be?
It's just three of these from the back crease.
No, but where you wanted to pitch a length. Occasionally, I saw you kind of mark out from the popping crease.
I always come and look at the area, because this is my area. You're not going to see too many ball marks for the drives. I hate to see batsmen driving. You want to drive, you go by a car, right? So I'm always in this area here. When you look at the pitch, you can see all the ball marks in a small area. And that has been my hallmark and my strength.
Yeah.
Be able to hit that area consistently all day.
Come back, because I'd like to talk to you about your brilliant spells. You get on this roll where you're almost irresistible. I mean, you had 7 for 1 in Perth and Trinidad and all that sort of stuff. It always seems your knees were higher. Was it a simple thing of just running in a little bit quicker every now and again? Or was it when you got those competitive juices flowing?
Yeah, once you're taking wickets, obviously, you know, the adrenaline flowing, everything, and, you know, legs pumping and the back of the heel hitting your back here. If you notice, a lot of times they have 2 marks on the back of my pants because their legs are going up more and they're pumping and really in that zone. You know, so when I'm in that zone, I've always felt invincible.
Nash, you want to go and get ready?
No.
Yeah, go and get ready. But what fires you up? Because, for example, Trinidad, you were batting. Andy Caddick's the bowler. What's this shot, Ambrose? And what were you thinking as you walked off, getting ready to bowl and get fired up?
Well, I remember that game clearly. We were struggling for runs. I remember Richie Richardson, the captain, said that, you know, bat as long as you can. The longer you bat, we can accumulate some more runs. Because I believe I can handle my bat.
Yeah.
You know, so there's something about Andrew Caddick. I mean, every time he bowls to me, I always want to take him out the attack. You know, I don't know why. You know, and I played a while. I was batting well all along. And then England took the second new ball. And for some reason, I just played a wild swipe that we just saw there and got bowled. And I was saying to myself, as an experienced man, that wasn't good. And the guys weren't too happy either.
No.
So I said to myself, you know, I got to do something magical to sort of get back in the good books.
And you did. What was this like from a batsman's point of view?
Well, the nightmare scenario was that we'd actually dropped a few catches, and so it meant that West Indies prolonged their innings. They had, I think, an hour, maybe an hour and 20 minutes to bowl on that final day, when really we should have been out there just after lunch batting. So it was the perfect scenario. He knows he's only going to bowl one spell. The pitch is a little bit up and down. You'll see a few deliveries really shooting low, so he's hammering away on a length. And then look at the crowd. You know, Nasser made a really good point. The atmosphere inside the Queen's Park Oval was incredible that evening. And so there's just a great sense of hostility, both on the field and then the 15,000 or so people around the ground as well.
What did you have against poor Jack Russell?
I had nothing personal against Jack Russell. He's a stubborn cricketer. He's a good bloke. But just the way he carries himself. You know, he got some pads that look like he was given to him by W.G. Grace. You know, and a hat. I don't know. See, he never looked the part. And he had this thing of walking away and grunting and so he used to really irritate me. So whenever it comes to bat, I was like, you know, I don't want to see you for too long. You got to get rid of him. You know, but it was nothing personal. He's a good bloke, though.
He's a good bloke. Steve Waugh, we mentioned. I'm going to jump out of that. We want to get you fired up because you're going to bowl at Nas. That's why I'm doing this. Quickly, we want to bowl at it. What was this all about? Do you regret it? Or was it the theatre of Test match cricket in the cauldron? That's what it's about.
I wouldn't say regret, because what happened, that series in 1995 was the decider. We were the number 1, they were number 2. And whoever win that series, if they win, they move to number 1. And we didn't want to relinquish our number 1 status, so they were leading the series 1-0. It's a game we had to win. The pitch was a lot of grass was on the pitch, a bit of moisture, as we say in the Caribbean, a lot of juice.
Juice.
And I was really enjoying the moment. And he was having a little difficulty. I mean, he batted well, he got 6 yards, played well, but he kept missing and, you know, and he swore at me. And I have to admit, I didn't hear him. It's one of my teammates told me that he said to F off, because of my steer, you know, I've always looked right. And I sort of say, you know what, forget it. This is Test cricket. People say things. And after the break, I came back and for some reason I snapped. I asked him, did you swear at me? And he said, well, I can say whatever I want. That to me is a yes. And I just snapped, and then hence that little confrontation. And I said to him, don't ever swear to me again, because I have no career left. If they ban me for life, I don't care. I will knock you out right here and now. Just like that. So don't, you know.
But that was very unusual, because
you didn't say anything.
Essentially, the West Indies did not sledge. Ambrose Walsh did not say a word out in the middle.
We don't.
Incredibly hostile. and fearsome, but without saying a word.
Well, Nasser's been swearing at you, so we got you fired up. There's a great line in his book, actually. He was on 399 wickets. He said, I'd quite like it to be Atherton or Stewart because of the battles we've had down the years. I'm not that fussed about Hussain. Are you ready, Nas?
Yeah, thanks for bringing up that Steve Waugh story just before I come in. Right, second ball of the test, Atherton out, Hussain in. Lunge.
Oh, where were your scoring areas? Where could you try and score off him?
Third man.
Yeah, we know that.
I reckon he bowled about 3 half volleys in his time. He didn't have many areas. Sometimes he'd go a little bit short and wide, very rarely. But no half volleys, definitely no drives. So you're looking to survive, basically. Come on, Curtly, rev it up.
Oh, here we go. Yeah!
Don't rev it up. Good follow through. The other thing, Wardy, just to put in the equation that we haven't touched on, and not making excuses, but in those days, I'm sounding a bit of an old fogey now, some of the pitches in the Caribbean were an absolute nightmare. They were up and down surfaces, and all we used to hear on the commentary and everything was, get forward to Ambrose, get forward to Marshall. But on some of these surfaces,
well, this is the famous
that was the called-off
Parkway
game, and it was an absolute nightmare. You got these guys so accurate. Get forward on that. Really, it was a nightmare.
But you reckon they called it off too early, didn't you?
Well, initially, I thought so. I honestly thought that it wasn't as bad as they made out, the pitch. But having seen the replay after, I realized it was, Because, I mean, initially, you're in your zone. You're not thinking about the nature of the pitch. You just want to get wickets, you want to win the game and all that stuff. So I did say...
But it was Brian who made the initial call to bring me onto the field to talk to the umpires. And he said to me, you're the senior captain here, you'll have to make the move to get it abandoned. It was his first test match as captain. He'd just taken over from Courtney Walsh, who was a Jamaican. He said, they hate me here in Jamaica, and I'm not doing it. He kind of left it to me, left me high and dry.
You mentioned Courtney Walsh. I mean, you became big buddies.
I've never heard of him.
Never heard of him? Well, you took 762 test match wickets together, so I'm sure you did.
Yeah,
he was like a brother to you, wasn't he?
Yeah, we are more than teammates. Yeah, we're like brothers. Funny enough, it wasn't like that from the start. You know, I got a friend home, Keith, who is before he made West Indies team, always believe in Courtney Walsh. Everything for him is Courtney Walsh. You know, he's a workhorse. He may not have taken many wickets at a time, but he's a workhorse. When things are really tough, Courtney Walsh. So after I made a team, I was saying to him, well, there's some problem here, because you and I grew up together.
Yeah.
You can't have Courtney Walsh ahead of me, you know, that kind of thing. So Courtney and I weren't friends from the start. Then we were roommates. And that's when we really get to know each other. And our friendship built on that right through.
But how influential was he in keeping you going to get past 400 test match wickets?
Yes, the series against Pakistan in the Caribbean in 2000, the last test match was played in Antigua. And I said to him quietly, haven't told anyone before, I said to him, well, you know, this is our last test match together, because after this game, I'm going to retire. I've had enough. I'm not enjoying the cricket anymore, and if I can't give it 100%, I prefer not to do it. And he said, no, big man, you can't do that. You know, in Jamaican accent, you can't do me that, man. You know, so every day the test match, he kept telling me, you got to go to England. And ended up on 388 at the end of the test match. He said, partner.
The other thing was a sense of pride that these guys had. I don't know whether we've seen the game against South Africa at Bridgetown. That final morning, how many did you have to defend here? About 80 or something. They had 8 wickets in hand.
That's correct.
The first time South Africa had come to the Caribbean. That was an incredible final morning. And you and Walsh did it.
They needed 86, you know, the last morning with 8 wickets in hand. And those days we had a rest day in between. So we had a boat cruise put on by the West Indies Cricket Board. And they were partying, shirts off, and they were like, you know, yeah, we have this. And we were in a very somber mood. We were like, boy, we can't allow these rookies. Because they were rookies, basically. Kepler Westley, the captain, was the only one with test experience. All of them making a debut. I was saying, man, Courtney was
there was
talking,
a bit more significance, you know, South Africa.
Well, you know, Courtney was saying, boy, you know, we can't have these rookies come and beat us here. That is a bad signal. So we were plotting, and I remember Desmond Haynes said the morning of the game, no matter what, if we're going to win with Ambrose and Walsh. If we're going to lose with Ambrose and Walsh. No matter what, we got to bowl all day. And that sort of inspired us, you know, said, you know what?
You can see the empty stands there.
Yeah.
Remember, there was a boycott
It was a
because
boycott.
they dropped the local boy, Anderson Cummings.
That's
There's
correct.
absolutely nobody in the ground,
That's
virtually.
correct. Anderson Cummings played a few one-day games, never a test match. And the selectors brought in Kenny Benjamin for the test match. And the Bajans weren't happy. They figured Anderson Cummings should have played, so they boycott the whole game. But when you look at both Anderson Cummings and Kenny Benjamin, I mean, Kenny Benjamin is a much better bowler, to be honest. You know, but they figured because he played some one days before, he should have been the first choice.
Enough about cricket. Come over here. Come on. This is what you really want to do. You came in and said, what's that? Basketball. Come on, shoot some free throws for us, because this was your love. You wanted to go to the NBA. Let's show us your skills.
No.
We've seen your cricket skills.
No, why you want to embarrass me on national TV?
I tell you what, you've got a 5'2" midget trying to stop him.
No, well,
I'm going to drop
no, first of all, you're too far away.
I can't get too... Okay.
I mean, even see if you're that far away, I could blow past you, you know, just a little shimmy, and get past you.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Plus, you can't defend me. You're too short.
Really? This all the time.
I can stand here and do that. How are you going to defend me? Look at that. Not even if you're jumping.
Do us a free throw.
You know?
Come on, nail it. We got one go, Ambi. We got one go. Oh, no! Have another one.
Listen,
Last one.
make sure you delete that, right?
Last one. Oh! It's been a great pleasure to speak to you. Thanks so
pleasure,
much
man.
for
Thanks
coming
very
in.
much.